Greetings children, welcome to the second class of photosynthesis. In first video of photosynthesis, in part 1 video of photosynthesis, we discussed about the importance of photosynthesis, the definition and the structure of chloroplast, and also we discussed about the two theories about the stomatal opening and closing. Now in this class we are going to learn in detail about the process of photosynthesis. First, in process of photosynthesis, you should think about a dicot leaf. Now, just give me what you have learned in your lower classes is the process of photosynthesis. The mesophyll cells are playing a major role in the process of photosynthesis. When sunlight falls on this, upper surface or dorsal surface, sunlight will penetrate all the cells. It will fall onto all the cells. The photons of light will be received by almost all the cells. And the chloroplast is the organelle which is going to absorb the photons of light. And in last video I told you about the presence of chlorophyll pigment on the membrane of grana. So all these things will be absorbing the photons of light and they will be doing photosynthesis. That glucose will be transferred to this palisade, from palisade to spongy mesophyll cells. The glucose or the food or the starch will be moving on to this part, and the carbon dioxide will be utilized through this way. The carbon dioxide molecules will move across and the oxygen will be moving back to the environment through stomata, and the water will be absorbed from xylem. It will be going into the cells. The water vapor will be passing on through this way. In transpiration lesson also we discussed the same. So this is how a process of photosynthesis occur in a leaf. This is what you have studied in lower classes too. Now we are going to learn in detail. Before that, let me tell you what is the chemical equation for photosynthesis. This is very important for you. This is the chemical equation. There are totally 6 molecules of carbon dioxide is necessary to produce 1 glucose. Right? 6 carbon is necessary to produce 1 glucose. So 6 CO2 is needed for 1 glucose production. 6 carbon dioxide is necessary to fix 1 molecule of glucose. Okay, and then the second important factor what we need for photosynthesis, what a plant need for photosynthesis is water. Totally 12 molecules of water is involving in this process. How many molecules? 12 molecules of water is involved in this process. But by the end of the process we are getting back 6 molecules of water. Don't think that we can write only 6 here, that will go wrong, because all these 12 molecules will be used up and again 6 molecules are being released out as a byproduct. It's not excess, it is byproduct. So there is a difference between excess and byproduct. This is byproduct. So water, you have to write 12 molecules of water in the using up column, in the product, in the reactant column. In the product column you have to write 6 molecules of water. And then 6 molecules of oxygen is released. Here you can insert an up arrow. 6 molecules of oxygen is being released. An up arrow you can write. Okay, so this is 6 molecules of carbon dioxide is used up to produce 1 molecule of glucose. 12 molecule of water is used up and 6 molecules of water is released out, and 6 molecules of oxygen is being released out. So this is this is the chemical equation for photosynthesis. And what are the two necessary requirements for photosynthesis? Light energy and chlorophyll. Light energy is needed and chlorophyll is the place where the reaction exactly occurs. So photosynthesis occur in presence of light energy and chlorophyll is the location where it is occurring. Okay, so this is chemical equation. It's very necessary to learn this. Please learn it. You have to learn it. So totally 6 molecules of carbon dioxide is used up and 12 molecules of water, and the product is 1 molecule of glucose. Glucose, the equation, the chemical formula is C6H12O6, and then 6 molecules of water is released and 6 molecules of oxygen is released as a byproduct. Okay, now the products of photosynthesis, these 3 are the product of photosynthesis. Now we can go in detail about the phases of photosynthesis or the processes, how this process of photosynthesis occur. First of all, you need to make sure that you are thinking about the structure of chloroplast. you have to visualize structure of chloroplast. Okay, you can think about the structure of chloroplast, right? There will be a grana or thylakoid, right? This one, right? Take a look for 2-3 minutes and I will change the slide. You can visualize that. So this is the thylakoid. One single thing is thylakoid. This entire thing is grana. Chlorophyll is present on the membranes of thylakoid. Okay, and stroma. What is stroma? Throughout this area there is a liquid matter, ground matrix. That is what stroma. Throughout this, okay, there is a liquid matter or ground matrix, colorless fluid. That is what stroma. Okay, so this is grana, this is thylakoid, and throughout this stroma. Only these three things we are going to learn. We are going to say again for the process of photosynthesis. So in process of photosynthesis there are actually two major steps. The first step or first phase means a stage. The first phase or first stage is light dependent phase. That means they require light. Light is compulsory for this stage. So this is light dependent phase. This is the first stage or first phase of photosynthesis. Light dependent phase. This is otherwise known as photochemical phase. Why? Photo means light, chemical means chemicals. Chemistry, chemicals. Okay, so photochemical phase means chemicals are going to be produced with the help of light. Chemicals are going to be produced with the help of light. So light dependent phase is photochemical phase, which occurs in the grana or thylakoid membrane, which occurs in chlorophyll or in the place where chlorophyll is present. This occurs in thylakoid, this occurs in grana. This is a very important part in this area. This occurs in the grana or thylakoid. This part is very important. Generally they used to ask this question, where does this occur? Where does light reaction occur? They used to ask this. So this occurs in grana or this occurs in the thylakoid. Light reaction occurs in the grana. Light reaction occurs in the thylakoid, or light reaction occurs on thylakoid membrane. Okay, so light reaction occurs in the thylakoid membrane. So what are the things that occurs during this stage? What are the processes occur during this stage? The first process that occurs during this stage is activation of chlorophyll by photon. Activation of chlorophyll by photon. Remember the video that we have seen last day in the last video. Those who didn't see that, please go and see the last video. I have shown that picture, I have shown the video there. The chlorophyll molecules get excited when photons of light is passing through that thylakoid membrane. So that is what activation of chlorophyll by photon. Photon is the smallest unit of light energy. This photon is the smallest unit of light energy. Smallest unit of light energy. So that much amount of very small unit of light energy is going to activate chlorophyll pigments, chlorophyll molecules. Now, the second thing that is going to occur is splitting up of water. Already we discussed 12 molecules of water is involved for 1 molecule of glucose formation. So splitting up of water molecule. What is the chemical composition, chemical formula of water? Is H2O. Right, so this is splitting up of water molecule in presence of light into what are the products that are formed by photolysis? That by splitting up of water, proton or hydrogen ion is being produced, and then nascent oxygen or oxygen is being produced, and then electron is being produced. So from one molecule of water you can see this H plus O, nascent O. There is only one O is there, right? So you can't say it's O2. If 2 molecules of water is there, O2 will be produced. Simple, okay? So one molecule of water will be producing 2 proton, 2 electron, and 1 nascent oxygen, right? 2 molecules of water will be producing 1 hydrogen and 1 oxygen, right? So you can see like H plus will be formed and O will be formed, and also E minus will be formed. Electrons will be formed. These are the products of photolysis of water. What is photolysis of water? Splitting of water, the same only. Photo means light. Already I told you that photo means light. Lysis means killing. Lysis means killing. I keep on saying this for all the classes from grade 8. I am keeping on saying this. Lysis is killing. Photo means light. So photolysis is when in presence of light, water is being killed into its components. So so H plus and E minus and O is being produced. What happens to this H plus later? This H plus will later forms NADPH2. We know that NADPH2 is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphate reduced. Okay, later this H plus will be forming nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphate, which is an energy rich compound. Okay, in respiration lesson last year I told you about that energy rich compound. And then oxygen is produced, which is coming out to the atmosphere as oxygen. An nascent oxygen will be combined with one more nascent oxygen to form O2 later. That is, oxygen will be produced. This oxygen is coming out of this stoma into the atmosphere. And then E minus is being produced. This E minus, what it's going to do is, this E minus will be joining with inorganic phosphate, that is what Pi, inorganic phosphate, Pi, to form ATP from ADP. That means ADP plus E minus plus inorganic phosphate will be forming an ATP. What is that expansion for ATP? Adenosine triphosphate, right? So this ATP is also an energy currency of a cell, and this process is called photophosphorylation. Phosphorylation means addition of phosphate. This phosphate is being added, right? This phosphate is being added along with this compound. So phosphorylation in presence of light. So that is what photophosphorylation. So in light phase, you can say three important things occur during light phase. What is the first process? Activation of chlorophyll by photon. Now, what is photon? Smallest unit of light energy. And the second process occur during light phase? Splitting of water. What is the other term for that? Photolysis of water. What is photolysis? Splitting of water into hydrogen ion and oxygen in presence of light and grana. Simple, right? Splitting up of water is the second process that occurs during light phase. The third process, photophosphorylation. What is photophosphorylation? Formation of ATP in presence of light is called photophosphorylation. Sometimes they can ask you a question for those who are preparing for competitive exams. Photophosphorylation, the location of photophosphorylation reactions, where does this occur? In the grana or thylakoid. Okay, so in the grana or thylakoid, grana membrane or thylakoid membrane would be the very correct answer. So photophosphorylation occurs during light reaction. So the three things which occur during light reaction is activation of chlorophyll, splitting of water, and then photophosphorylation. Remember that, please take note of it. Three different things that occur, three different process that occur during light reaction is activation of chlorophyll by photon, splitting up of water. You know that the word like splitting up of water means photolysis of water. That means in presence of light, water is being split up into hydrogen and oxygen, or hydrogen ion and electron and oxygen. And then the third process that occurs during light phase is photophosphorylation. Right, so these three are occurring during light dependent phase. What is the second phase of photosynthesis? This is the first phase of photosynthesis, light reaction. Second phase of photosynthesis, which is known as light independent phase. Read it so carefully. Light independent phase. That means it's free from light. Okay, we can call this as otherwise dark phase. The first one is light phase. This is dark phase. Okay, but when in case of dark phase, people used to think like it's happening only during dark, but it's not like that. Light dependent phase occurs when light is present, but dark phase occurs throughout 24/7. Right, because it doesn't require light. Okay, so there is a difference between light is not there or light is not being used. Okay, so this phase doesn't need light, so it can occur throughout the day. 24/7 it can occur. So this is light independent phase. So scientists thought that instead of dark phase we can go with light independent phase. That would be correct, so they use this term. Now the next one, light independent phase, is otherwise known as biosynthetic phase. Bio for organism, synthetic means production phase. So what is being produced in organisms at the time of this light independent phase? Glucose. Simple, right? So light independent phase or dark phase can be otherwise termed as biosynthetic phase. What is the other term for light phase? Photochemical phase. Okay, this is biosynthetic phase. Photochemical phase is light phase and biosynthetic phase is dark phase. Okay, and dark phase is actually a highly enzymes requiring processes. It involves nearly some 10 plus 4 plus 2, so nearly some 16-17 steps of reactions are there in this dark phase. We are not going to learn all those 17 phases, we don't want to. What we are going to learn from this light independent phase is, in this phase glucose molecules are being produced. This carbon dioxide is fixed. What is it fixing? Carbon dioxide will be added with hydrogen ion. This H plus is being added with carbon dioxide. Okay, H plus is going to be added with carbon dioxide. It's going to be inserted in carbon dioxide. That's why we are getting C6H12O6. Before that we have only C and O. In glucose formation we have C, H and O, right? So this hydrogen is being inserted in between this C and O. That is what happening in biosynthetic phase. So this is an enzymatic reaction, no? This is a completely, in each and every step enzymes are required. So these enzymes are present in the stroma. So this dark phase completely occurs in stroma. What is stroma? What is stroma? The ground matrix or the liquid which is present inside the chloroplast. Okay, so that is what stroma. So dark phase occurs in stroma. Where does light phase occur? On the grana membrane or thylakoid membrane, where is chlorophyll is present. And light independent phase occurs in stroma. Once in NEET exam they ask a question where write the location of, or the the location of enzymes of production of glucose. It's not the exact way, they asked it in a higher secondary level. The location of enzymes of glucose production. Okay, that's what the question. It is in stroma, right? So you should know stroma is the one which carries the enzymes and stroma is the location where does this dark phase occurs. So what is happening in this phase? Only one thing you are going to learn, production of glucose. And you should learn this term, polymerization. Okay, polymerization occurs. What is this polymerization, or what is this polymer? Polymer. What is polymer? Have you ever heard of PVC? That is polyvinyl chloride. Plastics, right? Plastic is a polymer. Do you know that? Cellulose is a polymer. Have you ever heard of that? Polymer. Polymer means, you can imagine you can compare glucose with just one bead. Okay, bead. And you can compare a polymer, or starch is a polymer, so you can compare starch with one long chain of beads. So I guess you can understand what I am trying to say. Like glucose is one just bead and starch is a long chain of too many beads, like more than 1000 or more than 2000 beads together forms starch. So polymer formation is called polymerization. Polymerization means all these small molecules of glucose will be added together to form a long chain of a huge molecule called starch. Okay, so that is what polymerization. Polymerization means formation of a complex molecule by addition of too many small molecules, small glucose molecules. That is what polymerization. Polymerization in photosynthesis is production of glucose. So where does polymerization occur in photosynthesis reactions? In the dark phase. Or where does polymerization, what is the major thing occurs during polymerization? How can you define polymerization? Formation of a large chain of starch, large molecule or a complex molecule, in bracket you can write starch, from several small glucose molecules. Okay, and one more condition occurs at the time of polymerization is By the addition of each and every glucose molecule, one molecule of water will go out. Right? By the addition of one molecule of glucose, one molecule of water has to go out. So this is like a dry sugar. The starch is a dry one and glucose is a little bit hydrated. That is what the difference. Simple things are hydrated and the complex things are more dehydrated. Okay. There may be a question. This is for this is like indirect question. Sometimes people used to ask, why the glucose is converted into starch? What is the necessity to convert glucose into starch? Okay, for competitive exams, for your NSTSC exams and all, there may be questions like people may ask question like, why is it necessary to convert glucose into starch? There are two reasons actually. One thing is glucose is hydrated when compared with starch. Starch is dry and glucose is a little bit hydrated. Because for the formation of starch at the time of polymerization, addition of each and every molecule of glucose will be releasing one molecule of water. Polymerization is including removal of water also. So that is a dry one, which will be better for preservation for a longer time. Okay, this is first reason. At the time of preservation of substances, food substances, when it is in a dry state, preservation would be better. Okay, this is just a common sense thing. At the state of dry state, the preservation of food will be better. And what is the second reason? If you are taking one molecule of water out, that much amount of space is occupied by some other molecules, some other food molecule. Okay, so whenever it is necessary for the plant itself, whenever it is necessary, it will be a little bit hydrated. A molecule of water will be added, it will become simplified. So from complex to simple formation will be there when water is being added, and then the simplified sugar will be used up by the plant. So at the time of preservation, to reduce the area of storage, some amount of water molecules will be going out. And one more thing, the complex food matter can be stored up for a longer time because they are dehydrated. So these are the two reasons why water has to be taken out at the time of polymerization, or why water is being taken out at the time of polymerization. Okay, and as I told you, this is a enzymatic procedure. This is highly enzyme requiring procedure. So there is a enzyme called RUBP, that is ribulose or ribulose bisphosphate. Okay, ribulose bisphosphate, that means I'll give it the spelling, ribulose bisphosphate. Ribulose bisphosphate. Why I am stressing about this enzyme is the most abundant enzyme throughout the world in an organism. This is the most commonly seen or abundant enzyme in an organism is ribulose bisphosphate, or RUBP. In each and every organism, this is the enzyme which is noted in a high amount. Okay, so just for your extra knowledge I am giving you this. This is given in your not in syllabus column in the book. You can note only about ribulose bisphosphate. You don't want to learn the other facts that's connected with that. You don't want to learn, but you can read. I won't deny from reading. You have to read to get your knowledge a little bit extra. So ribulose bisphosphate is the enzyme which is found very abundant in almost all the organisms. Okay, so we have discussed about two phases of photosynthesis. The first phase is light phase, light dependent phase or light phase, which is otherwise termed as photochemical phase, which occurs in grana or thylakoid membrane. And the three process that occur during light phase of photosynthesis is activation of chlorophyll by photon, splitting up of water or photolysis of water, and then photophosphorylation. What occurs during dark phase, that is the second phase of photosynthesis, is production of glucose or polymerization later. And you are learning that it occurs in stroma, and the previous one, light phase, occurs in grana membrane. This occurs in the stroma. And I gave you one more information about that enzyme which is found in almost all organisms at the time of photosynthesis, which is being used is ribulose bisphosphate. Now let me go with a comparison between light and dark phase. This is light dependent reaction, and this is dark reaction. Calvin cycle is dark reaction. The major thing of Calvin cycle is dark reaction. As you have studied Krebs cycle in respiration, Calvin cycle is in photosynthesis. You don't have this name in syllabus, but you can know. Calvin cycle is the one in photosynthesis. Okay, so this light dependent phase occurs in the grana, and this occurs in the stroma. Can you see that here? Stroma. So this occurs in the grana or thylakoid membrane, in the outer membrane, in the membrane, the thylakoid membrane this occurs, and dark reaction occurs in the stroma. Okay, so in light reaction it will be producing ATP and NADPH2, which will be utilized by the stroma for its reactions, and then again NADP and ADP will be given out back, and glucose will be produced. Here what is given is GA3P is a little bit intermediate compound, that is glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. You are not learning that now. This will be later on added into glucose. This will be later on converted into glucose. Okay, so here you can write glucose. You can draw this and you can write this as glucose. So glucose will be produced by taking in carbon dioxide. How many molecules of carbon dioxide for one molecule of glucose? 6. Those who said 6, please give an appreciation for yourself. So 6 is correct. Okay, the next one. So that's it about the process of photosynthesis, and the next topic that we need to learn is adaptation in leaf for photosynthesis. So in a leaf, you have studied about the adaptation in leaf for transpiration also, but for photosynthesis, the surface area has to be larger. For transpiration, surface area has to be reduced. So wherever the plants are growing in a drought area or water less area, the surface area will go less for reducing transpiration. This is another case. Like for photosynthesis, wherever water and sunlight is good, the plants are ready to do the photosynthesis, surface area becomes larger. Think about the cactus, Opentia. The stem becomes broad to do photosynthesis, isn't it? So large surface area to do better photosynthesis. And then the second point is leaf arrangement. Leaf arrangement or the plant will, it is like, it's very natural and so surprising to see. All the plants has to do photosynthesis in a very better way, and no leaf will hide the other leaf. Okay, all the leaves will be showing their surfaces. This is a what is it, guava leaf. Okay, I thought of saying biological name, Psidium guajava. Okay, this is guava leaf. You can see that guava leaf will be showing all the leaves to the outer atmosphere, to the sunlight, so that they can get more sunlight. Here this is the leaf of Nerium, that Olanda. 3 leaves will be there, and the next 3 leaves, can you see that these 3 leaves are like this, and the next 3 leaves, bottom leaves will be in the intermediate place, in the in-between place, so that all leaves can expose themselves. This is Alamanda. Alamanda is that yellow color flower, Alamanda. This is Alamanda leaf. 4 leaves will be there, and the next 4 leaves will be from the in-between gap. So leaves, naturally all these leaves will be showing themselves to show maximum, to receive maximum sunlight. So the first adaptation is to have larger surface area or broad leaves, and then the leaf arrangement will be like they can receive more sunlight. And then cuticle and upper epidermis. What is so special in cuticle and upper epidermis is the main purpose why there is cuticle is to give water resistance. Sometimes if like rainy season, at the time of rainy season or at the time of like cloudy day, sunlight intensity will be very less, and this cuticle and upper epidermis, they will be very transparent, so that even if water droplet falls on that, even if it is water droplet is there on top, the upper epidermis and cuticle will be giving a transparency, so that the sunlight will be going into the mesophyll cells where the exact photosynthesis reactions occur. So they will be providing maximum transparency, and they will be giving waterproof nature also for the leaf, entire leaf. And then thinness of leaf, to make more photosynthetically efficient system, the leaf is completely very thin, so that diffusion will be so fast and good, and then the distance between cells will also be reduced. And then numerous stomata, especially on lower surface, that is for allowing more diffusion, that is for easy and rapid exchange of gases. And then the chloroplasts are concentrated on dorsal surface, because dorsal surface is going to receive more sunlight. Chloroplast is on more in the dorsal surface. In the palisade layer, chloroplast will be very high. Remember that internal structure. Chloroplast will be more in the dorsal surface, right? In the palisade layer, chloroplast will be very high, so that when sunlight falls on that surface, they can get more sunlight, they can get more photons. And then extensive vein system, this is the vein. Okay, this is the vein. As like we do have vein system, they are also having vein. Xylem and phloem will be very extensive there. So xylem will be providing water and phloem will be collecting back the food material. Okay, so they have extensive vein system. So these are all the 7 leaf adaptation. What are they? The first one, large surface area or broad leaf, and then leaf arrangement. Yeah, large surface area or broadleaf, and then leaf arrangement, and then cuticle and upper epidermis is so transparent and gives water resistance, and numerous stomata is present especially on the lower surface, and thinness of leaves to allow easy and fast diffusion, and chloroplasts are concentrated on dorsal surface, and extensive vein system throughout the length of leaf. So these are all the adaptation that we can see in leaf to do photosynthesis in a better way. And then the end results of the products. What will happen to the end results of the products? Already we discussed what are the products, like glucose, water and oxygen are the product. 1 molecule of glucose, 6 molecules of water and 6 molecules of oxygen. So what is happening to this glucose? This glucose can be consumed by the plant itself for its development. By when they are doing their own respiration, the plant cell can consume by itself. Some amount of glucose can be stored as a starch because of a process called polymerization, and some can be converted into sucrose. What is sucrose and what is starch? Sucrose is just 2 molecule of glucose. Okay, sucrose is just 2 molecule of glucose. It's like 1 plus 1. Starch is having more than some 100 to 1000 or 100 to lakhs of glucose molecules. So this is like smaller, 1 plus 1 2, and this is 100 to 1000 molecules of glucose. That is what polymerization. So converted into sucrose. Why and when? Sucrose or fructose too. Okay, why and when? At the time of like when they have a fruit, or when they have a vegetable is also coming under fruit, okay, biologically. So this yes, most of you are like, why? Yes, when we meet directly, I'll tell you that vegetables are also coming under fruit category in biological aspect. Okay, after the product of fertilization, that's also fruit, right? So that sucrose conversion or sucrose formation is to be stored in that fruits. Now used in the synthesis, and one more point, like glucose can be converted or it will be used in the synthesis of protein and fat for the cell's regular metabolism. Okay, so these 4 will occur, or these 4 can happen for a glucose molecule which is being produced by the end of photosynthesis. And the next byproduct, that is water. This water will be converted into water vapor. It can go out of the plant surface, or else this water can be again used by the plant. Okay, that depends. That water can go out or that can be used up by the cell again, along with the 12 molecules which is being the reactant, it can be added. Okay, so the next byproduct is oxygen. Very sure oxygen has to come out. This oxygen will be coming out of the cell, and sometimes the oxygen can be used by the plant cell for its respiration. Let me register that plants do respire by taking in oxygen and leaving out carbon dioxide. Okay, plants do respiration by taking in oxygen and leaving out carbon dioxide, as like how we do respiration. So this oxygen can be utilized for the respiration, or sometimes it can come out of the plant or diffuses out of the plant through stomata. Okay, so these are the end results. And here you need to know one more fact, that is translocation. What is translocation? Already in 8th standard you have studied about translocation. Translocation means movement of food matter through phloem, transportation of food from this area of synthesis, that is from leaf to the storage part, through phloem. That is translocation. And in plants generally translocation occurs at nights. Okay, so during daytime when glucose is being produced maximum, this glucose can be used up by the cell, or this glucose can be transformed to this translocated into the fruit or vegetable, or it can be converted into starch temporarily and can be there in leaf too. At night, all this starch molecule or glucose molecule will be converted into insoluble sugar, and it's being like at the time of transportation they will be in the form of soluble form. Okay, they will be transported along with water. and when they are reaching the storage area, for example, like in tapioca, the starch is being stored in the root, right? So in potato, it's being stored in the underground stem. So in these cases, the starch will be converted into soluble form first, and then they will be moving to the root. If there is a plant, like you can imagine that the plant will be having the production process or temporary storage will occur in the leaf, and from the leaf the starch will be moving through phloem. It will be coming to the root or underground part. There the polymerization occurs, removal of water occur, it will be converted into insoluble form, and there it will be stored. So that is what translocation, this movement of food matter through phloem, is called translocation. The next topic that we are going to learn is factors affecting photosynthesis. Just two more topics, okay? Factors affecting photosynthesis. The first one is external factor. External means which is outside the plant, right? So light intensity. Light intensity is like very important. In light intensity, you should know a very, very important question generally from this part. Light intensity, the best light intensity to do photosynthesis is blue and red lights. That means in a visible spectrum like the VIBGR will start with violet, violet and red is on the both sides, right? So in this spectrum, the maximum and minimum spectrum is good for photosynthesis. It's okay for photosynthesis. Okay, it's good for photosynthesis too. We can say that it's okay for photosynthesis or good for photosynthesis. The blue and red light, or the spectrum or the wavelength of blue and red light, it would be around like 700 for red, and for blue it would be around 450 or something. Yes, 700 or 450. It's not there in your book. Those who need, you can mark it up. 700 nanometer is for red light. It will be ending up in 630 or something. Now, like in blue wavelength, it would be from 490 to 450. 490 to 450 will be the blue wavelength. So this wavelengths of light, this spectrum of light is actually good for photosynthesis. But if you Google up, you can know that yellow light is actually very good for photosynthesis. Indirectly, it shows that the visible spectrum is actually good for photosynthesis, except one single light intensity, there is green light intensity. This green light will be having wavelength of around 550 nanometer for green light. This nanometer of light, this wavelength of light, the green light, is not okay for photosynthesis. So if green light is only provided to a plant, the plant will never do photosynthesis. Okay, the plant will be like, it will be completely emitting out green light. That's why the leaf itself is green in color. So green light is not okay for photosynthesis. Apart from that, the visible spectrum is good for photosynthesis. Even if you are giving UV light, it won't affect much, but when the radiation goes beyond the limit, it can damage the cells. So light intensity, we are not learning too deep about light intensity. The visible spectrum itself is very good for photosynthesis. Okay, so in the visible spectrum, it will emit out green light, and with the available remaining light, the plant will do photosynthesis. Even during cloudy days, even the light intensity, if it is too low, photosynthesis will occur. Okay, and the next one is carbon dioxide concentration. And carbon dioxide concentration is actually important, of course, but if it is too much of carbon dioxide, the stomata will close. Okay, that becomes like a poison, so stomata will close. So it's believed that the higher rate of photosynthesis will be at the rate of 0.05% of carbon dioxide. 0.05% of carbon dioxide concentration is very good for a best photosynthetic activity. That is considered as the optimum range of photosynthesis. Optimum range of carbon dioxide concentration for photosynthesis is 0.05%. Please highlight that. It's given in your book. Please highlight that. And then temperature. And I already told you, biosynthetic process is a highly enzyme requiring process. It's an enzymatic one. So for this, temperature plays a very important role in the action of enzymes. If temperature is too low, enzymatic reactions will never occur. Enzymes becomes like they will be in a mode of hibernation. They will not be working. And enzymes, if it is going high, the temperature is going high, means the enzymes will get disintegrate. They will be cooked up. They are all protein, right? So they will be cooked up. So this temperature will influence the rate of photosynthesis in a very high way. So you should know the optimum temperature for all the biological processes is 35 to 40 degrees centigrade. 35 to 40 degrees centigrade is very good for all the enzymatic reactions which occur in the biological organisms. And then water content is also necessary. Scarcity of water, if water is not there, photosynthesis will not be occurring. If water is too much, photosynthesis can occur up to a level, but only when there is a case of desiccation, photosynthesis cannot occur, because that will be considered as like an emergency situation in a plant. So the plant will be doing more transpiration to make itself stand possible. So water content is also necessary. Water content is also a limiting factor for photosynthesis. These are all the external factors, and then we are going into the internal factors. So chlorophyll, we know that without chlorophyll there is no photosynthesis. And chlorophyll, sometimes because of nutritional deficiency, or because of too much sunlight, or because of too much temperature, sometimes chlorophyll may be affecting, and that will be affecting the rate of photosynthesis too. Next, about the protoplasm. And protoplasm, it's a source of water. Okay, when water is available, protoplasm will be carrying water, it will be giving water. If protoplasm is hydrated, or if a protoplasm is dehydrated, it will surely affect the rate of photosynthesis. And then the structure of leaf, I told you about the adaptation of leaf. If it is a broad leaf, rate of photosynthesis will be very good. If it is a narrow leaf, rate of photosynthesis will be very less. And if cuticle is very thick, rate of photosynthesis will go low. Okay, and distribution of stomata, if it is very high, rate of photosynthesis will also be different. Okay, because diffusion of gases will be so fast, so rate of photosynthesis will also be good. And then amount of carbon dioxide entering into the leaf will also vary because of too much of stomata. So the structure of leaf will also influence the rate of photosynthesis. And that's it about the internal factors. So we discussed about the external factors, the 4 things, and then this internal factor. And then the last topic that we are going to learn is carbon cycle. For today's class, the last topic is carbon cycle. So in carbon cycle, the atmospheric carbon cycle is having some 6 essential steps. Okay, 6 essential steps. First of all, you should know what is carbon cycle. You can see this cyclic way of movement of carbon. When carbon is moving from atmosphere into the organisms, and then from organisms back into the atmosphere. So this is how the carbon is being cycling in atmosphere and organisms. That is what carbon cycle. So first, carbon, how it is entering into the plant's life. Through respiration, we are not taking in carbon dioxide. How do we take in carbon dioxide into our body? Even we know that most of our cells, carbon is an organic compound, right? Carbon is present in our cell, in our membrane, plasma membrane, everywhere carbon is present. So how do we take in carbon? Only through food. How do this food take in carbon? Only by a process called photosynthesis. Okay, so the first thing, carbon is entering into an organism through photosynthesis. So this is the first entry point, photosynthesis, and it's being converted into food. And that food will be going into another organism, like an animal. If it is there, it will be going into an organism. And then how does that comes out of an organism? When photosynthesis is being produced, that will be in producer, and from producer it is going into a consumer. And when this producer and consumer, they do respiration, or when they defecate, some amount of carbon will be coming out. Okay, so respiration is a process by which the carbon dioxide is coming out of an organism, and then at the time of death and decay, by decomposition, more amount of carbon will be coming out. And then by combustion, what is that combustion process? This dead organisms, all these plants are imagine all these plants and animals are dead in this particular area, and they are being converted into coal or petroleum. They are being converted into fossil fuel, and this fossil fuel is used by industries, and these industries are going to emit out carbon, and that is known as combustion. Okay, this fossil fuel is being used up. What is happening inside this industry with the fossil fuel is combustion. They are going to using up all those things, so that is combustion. And limestone and dolomite, these things have carbon in it. Okay, so if somebody is burning this, or if thunder falls on this, if some fire is on this top, some amount of carbon will be released out. Okay, so burning of all these things. So these are all the processes where carbon cycle occurs. So first thing, photosynthesis, which is entry of carbon into the organism, and then it enters into food chain, and by respiration some amount of carbon will be coming out, and by death and decay a little more amount of carbon will be coming out, and then by combustion the fossil fuels are being used up in the industries and carbon will be coming out, and then burning of limestone will also release some amount of carbon into the atmosphere. So this is what carbon cycle, this is how it's being cycled there. So today what are the topics we have discussed? We have discussed about the process of photosynthesis and adaptation in leaf and products of photosynthesis, factors affecting photosynthesis, and then we discussed about the carbon cycle too. Okay, I guess you have understood this, and your homework is please read the text. Okay children, please read the text, and by one more class I can complete photosynthesis, and your next week the cycle test would be from this part, photosynthesis part. As you are at home, you can learn a little more, like you can complete this once in 2 days only we are getting this class. So I know today's class is a little bit more, but while you read that, you don't want to learn a lot. You have to learn what are the contents I told you. I didn't leave anything, so please listen to the class very carefully and take down notes and please learn it. And I guess when the school reopens, we will have a test from the part or from the portion whatever we have completed, that will be considered as our first revision exam. So make sure you are clearing your portion every day, and moreover you are in 10th standard, so I guess you are learning, I guess you are not skipping up your classes, I guess you are not doing any malpractices there. Please go with the portions, cope with the portions, and do attend all the weekly tests. That's very very important. And as I told you already, weekly test marks are going to be converted into your monthly test marks. That's going to be reported in your website too. So please make sure you are completing your everyday portion. Thank you so much kids, and attend your cycle test. That's very very mandatory. Attend your cycle test and don't try to skip your cycle test, and try to get good marks. Thank you so much, and I'll give you intimation through classroom app. Okay, thank you. And if there is any doubt, you just message me back. Don't hesitate, you just message me. And I didn't get any idea about 10A kids. 10A kids, please, if anyone is listening completely, please 10A kids, make sure that you are completing your portion on time. If there is any doubt, don't hesitate to ask the doubt to me too. You can add a comment. If you have my number, you can contact me through WhatsApp, or else you can message me in the comment box. I'll dial you back. Okay, thank you kids, thank you, and stay safe at home. Thank you.